Have you ever been in a conversation and just felt like there was something else going on? Something under the surface? Well, you're not wrong. Way back in 1964, a psychiatrist named Dr. Eric Berne wrote a book that totally blew the lid off of our social interactions. It's called Games People Play, and it's basically a secret decoder ring for human relationships.
Okay, I know, that sounds super academic, but what does it actually mean? Ulterior transactions is the key. It just means there's a hidden message happening beneath the words we're actually saying. Berne's big idea is that we're often playing these subconscious games with a hidden motive and a predictable, usually dramatic, payoff at the end.
So let's get right to the heart of it. This is a pretty provocative idea. Berne suggests that a massive chunk of our social life, from little spats with our partners to parties with our friends, isn't just happening randomly. It's actually structured. We're following invisible scripts and playing out these psychological games.
And let's be really clear here. When Berne says games, he doesn't mean fun like Monopoly or poker. No. These games can be deadly serious. Think of the grim intensity of a high-stakes football game, or even a war. The defining feature isn't fun. It's that there's an unspoken set of rules and a hidden agenda.
And this is where it gets kind of wild, because Berne had this incredible talent for naming these games. Just look at these titles. They are so blunt and so recognizable. I mean, why don't you, yes, but, we have all been in that conversation. You know, where someone asks for advice and then gives you a million reasons why none of your suggestions will work. Yeah, that's a game.
So, to really understand how these games work, we've got to meet the players first. And here's the twist. The players aren't other people. Not at first anyway. They're the 3 different ego states that live inside every single one of us.
First up, you've got the parent. This is basically a huge collection of recordings in your brain of things your parents said and did. It's that voice of authority, tradition, and judgment. It's the part of you that says you should or you must not.
Next is the adult. Think of this as your own internal, rational computer. The adult is all about objective reality. It's the part of you that gathers information, weighs the pros and cons, and makes logical, non-emotional decisions. It's just focused on the facts.
And finally, we have the child. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's the part of you that feels and acts just like you did when you were a little kid. It's where all the fun comes from, the creativity, the spontaneity, the joy, but it's also where the tantrums and defiance come from too.
Now, here's the crucial thing to remember. None of these are good or bad. A healthy person has all 3 and knows when to use them. Your parent helps you with automatic routines, which saves a ton of energy. Your adult is essential for, survival, and your child is what makes life worth living. The trouble only starts when one of them takes over at the wrong time.
Okay, so we've met our inner parent, adult, and child. Now let's look at how they actually talk to each other and to other people. The basic building block of any social interaction, according to Berne, is something called a transaction.
A transaction is super simple. It's just a stimulus and a response. So if I say, hi, that's the stimulus, and you say, hi back. That's the response. Boom, we've just had one transaction. Easy enough, right?
Now, when the response you get is the one you expected, we call that a complementary transaction. So, my adult asks your adult what time is it, and your adult says it's 2 o'clock. The lines of communication are parallel, they're open, and a conversation like this can pretty much go on forever.
So where does all the trouble come from? It comes from a crossed transaction. This is when you get a totally unexpected response. For example, my adult asks, "Do you know where my car keys are?" And you respond from your critical parent, "Well, maybe if you put things where they belong, you wouldn't lose them." See? Our lines just crossed. Communication slams to a halt, and usually a fight is about to start.
Okay, so let's put it all together now. Ego states, transactions, how do they combine to make an actual game? Let's break down one of the most common games Berne found, especially in relationships.
All right, welcome to the game called If It Weren't For You. Here's the setup. You have a wife, we'll call her Mrs. White. She constantly complains that her husband is this overbearing tyrant who never lets her do anything fun. But here's the kicker. When he finally says, "Fine, go do it," she suddenly realizes she's actually terrified of doing those things. The game itself follows a very predictable script, like a dance they both know by heart. Move 1, he acts like a domineering parent and tells her what to do. Move 2, she responds like a rebellious child and complains, "If it weren't for you," and this can go on for years, filling up countless hours of their life together.
And this is the secret. This is the ulterior transaction. On the surface, what everyone sees is a parent-child argument. It's a simple power struggle. But underneath, on the hidden psychological level, a totally different conversation is happening. Her child is secretly pleading, "Please help me avoid all these things I'm scared of." And his child is replying, "Don't worry, I will, as long as you promise to never leave me." It's a secret contract.
Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. Why? Why on earth would people play these often painful, destructive games? And Berne's answer is that games are an incredibly powerful, though not very healthy, way to satisfy some very deep psychological needs he called hungers.
There are three of them. First, we have a biological need for stimulus, just to keep our brains from turning to mush. As we get older, that morphs into a need for recognition from other people. And finally, we all have this deep, powerful need to structure our time so we don't get bored. Games, it turns out, are a fantastic way to satisfy all three of these hungers.
Berne had this incredibly powerful way of explaining it. He said, if you are not stroked, your spinal cord will shrivel up. A stroke, in his terms, is any act of recognition. It could be a hello, a compliment, a high five, or it could be an insult. It doesn't matter. It's human contact. And what he's saying is, we are starving for strokes. We need them like we need food and water. And games are a guaranteed way to get them, even if they're negative ones.
So, let's just quickly recap the payoffs, the advantages, and I'm using air quotes here, of playing games. 1, you get a ton of intense strokes. 2, they fill up your calendar and keep you from being bored. 3, and this is a big one, they confirm your deepest beliefs about the world. For Mrs. White, the game proved her belief that all men are tyrants. And 4, of course, the game let her avoid her fears without ever having to face them.
But this, right here, is the most important, most profound point of the entire book. Games have a huge cost, and that cost is intimacy. Would play games because real, genuine, game-free intimacy is terrifying to a lot of people. It's unpredictable, it's vulnerable. So instead, we settle for the predictable drama of games. We choose a script over a real connection.
And this all leads us to Berne's final haunting question. After the games, what then? If we could give them all up, what would be left? And his answer is everything. What's left is autonomy, the freedom to live in the here and now. And what's left is intimacy, the ability to have a real, spontaneous, game-free connection with another human being. And that's a thought worth hanging on to.